Where I think occupationally having discomfort and understanding if you're safe or not is relevant is your ability to grow. It has a direct reflection on your internal understanding and awareness. So you're allowed to grow at any given point in time, but to do that, it takes being uncomfortable. And if you're not willing to be uncomfortable, if you're immediately triggered into thinking you're unsafe, you're likely not going to be able to grow that far.
Welcome to the EQ Gangster podcast, where you will learn practical tools to grow your mental and emotional health and intelligence to be the best version of yourself, both at work and at home. It is real, raw, and transformational. The journey of emotional growth isn't easy, but it's worth it. I believe in you. EQ Gangsters, what's up? So I've got a friend here, a special guest, that I'm going to be interviewing just a little bit. It's going to be a short episode. The concept or the topic is feeling uncomfortable or discomfort and still being safe. And there's a difference between the two. And so we're going to kind of jump into that a little bit. And because of my guest's background, I'm not going to mention names or occupations or any of that kind of stuff. And there are going to be some really phenomenal insights to be able to learn from this discussion, because I think it's really important, both in business and in friendships and relationships, to realize there's a difference between discomfort and safety. That whole concept there. So I think it's a really important concept to kind of wrap your head around, especially depending on what your background is with the feeling of discomfort. All right, I am thankful for friends. I'm thankful for business and learning and growth and trees and rain and clouds and sun and stars and birds and trees and pine trees and travel. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to my guest now, and please share maybe what your previous understanding was about your connection between discomfort and the relationship with safety or unsafety, as much as you're willing to share or communicate.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me. The initial definition that I had of discomfort and safety is discomfort and safety were the same thing. There were no separation and identification at all. It was, if I was uncomfortable, therefore I'm unsafe. There's a component of not understanding the difference that when you develop in your early childhood, it's very difficult to unwire and then rewire later on, and even in your mid-adolescence to early adulthood. So understanding the first issue of my relationship with the two is that there is not two, there's one. That was really interesting to navigate in my early 20s, I would say. I think my definition was just blended. So knowing now that they're entirely different has been monumental in healing and growth, and then my ability to transform relationships, mature my career, and even develop myself into deeper, EQ, IQ, all those things, simply because I know the difference now.
What impact professionally, why does understanding the difference between comfort and safety, or discomfort and safety, so what? Why is that? How is that? You said it's monumental. Why is that monumental?
Yeah, so in my career, I actually work under the umbrella of what true safety is. So I know a legitimate idea of safety and non-safety, where I think occupationally having discomfort and understanding if you're safe or not is relevant is your ability to grow. It has a direct reflection on your internal understanding and awareness. So you're allowed to grow at any given point in time, but to do that, it takes being uncomfortable. And if you're not willing to be uncomfortable, if you're immediately triggered into thinking you're unsafe, you're likely not going to be able to grow that far. So I think there's if you can separate the two, you do not have a ceiling for growth. If you can keep them separate and you understand discomfort is a necessity for growth, there's no ceiling at all.
So yeah, that's fire. So I think for me, an analogy that I would relate it to is going to the gym or jujitsu. Jujitsu is, I know there are people that every time I roll are going to give me a shellacking. The discomfort that I feel in jujitsu when I roll with a black belt, or I mean, it doesn't have to be an upper belt, it can be a blue belt. But if their skill level is, if they're a D1 wrestler that happens to be a blue belt, I know it's going to be a tough roll. And the good thing is, I know enough about jujitsu where I can keep myself safe even amidst the discomfort. I have enough of a foundation of jujitsu, of how to protect my neck, of how to protect my joints, that I can feel very uncomfortable because they are destroyed. I'm thinking of a guy, he was my size, 6'1", 250, 260, and he had been doing jujitsu for 6 months. I've even shared this story many moons ago, early on in the podcast, and we started up standing, which I don't like doing because I'm an old guy, and he was a much younger dude. We slapped hands, bumped hands, and I blinked, and the next thing I saw was the ceiling because he had done a double leg takedown on me. And he was a 6'1", 250 pound, 260 pound dude who moved like a 5'5", 120 pound D1 wrestler. Come to find out, he was a D1 wrestler. And it was literally all I could do to survive. And the good thing is, I felt safe because even amidst the extreme discomfort, because again, I knew enough about jujitsu. So here's another question I've got for my guest here. You have a lot about, you have a lot of, I would argue, a lot of emotional tools that you've learned over the years. How have your emotional tools allowed you to feel safe in uncomfortable situations that I would argue, because of your background and what you do for a living, you experience discomfort literally 10, 12 hours a day. You are put in very, very uncomfortable situations. But I have heard that how you respond is very, very calmly in very uncomfortable, emotionally charged situations. How have you been able to do that? How do you stay calm in very uncomfortable, emotionally charged situations?
The first for me is to be emotionally agile. So understanding things are not rigid and fixed. I don't have to be in a certain state of being while I'm encountering something that may feel traumatic to me in the moment. For example, I have in my career witnessed some tough things, and in the moment, I think my understanding is what's my role in this. So understanding my role in a situation, and then the second component is the aftermath of, okay, what did I just endure and what can I learn from that? So instead of reacting to the situation, I'm now using it as curiosity and information and to build more tools. Tools are cool to look at, but they're better if you use them. So it's essentially, I've developed agility in my emotional well-being so I can be fluid with and operate in, I would say, different realms of whatever the situation needs me to be. And then afterwards, instead of just tossing that out and being like, well, that was a lot, I decided to go, well, let's just add that to the toolbox. Can I sharpen any current tools with now the new ones, whatever it may be? And so I use it as a growth opportunity instead of just blocking encounters that keep me at a standstill, per se. Being able to be calm also is a understanding of what is what is needed to operate? Like, how is my nervous system regulated right now? And it's the idea of whose peace are you keeping? Is it yours or theirs? So being able to do both simultaneously is a lot of agility, emotional agility. But that comes with reps. Like he's talking about jujitsu, it's just reps on reps on reps. And it's the same thing, it's mental reps all day long. I'm constantly telling myself in these tense situations, I'm not going through this, they are, right? Or what's my role? I'm here to help diffuse. Or, what can I learn from this situation? It's not so personal. It's more just I can make this situation become an asset to my development. And I think just separating yourself from your circumstances is a huge way to be able to stay calm in those types of environments.
One of the things that you've mentioned before is, so what's one way that you regulate your nervous system?
There's many, because you have to have many. Genuinely, the easiest way, and I think this applies to toddlers, and it can also apply to an 85-year-old. So that's one reason why I love this method. But being able to physically ground yourself and tapping into your vagus nerve and your parasympathetic system. So I literally wiggle my toes. I'll feel my fingers. I look at my environment. I feel my body toes up, and then I physically look around me. And I'm like, okay, there are trees here. I'm in blank state. I'm doing X thing. And I keep myself right back in the present. And I bring it all back down and center it to what is actually currently presently happening. And am I safe? And the answer is yes. It's not happening to me. It's happening around me. Or it's happening to someone else, whatever it is. But I'm able to seriously, smell the candles, blow out the, or smell the flowers, blow out the candles, which you tell toddlers a lot to decompress and take those deep breaths. You can do it also when you're 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever. So physically rooting yourself actually takes such an internal impact for nervous regulation, for sure.
Yeah, that's great. Again, you guys know I've said this a lot too in a lot of the episodes, is one of the number one things that I teach white belts when I roll them with a white belt is their breathing. Their fight, flight, feign response kicks in this case, jiu-jitsu fight response, and their breathing completely goes erratic, and which affects their performance. Your performance reflects your breathing. And so that happens personally and professionally. So if you can pay attention to your breathing and intentionally calm your breathing down, when if you find yourself getting angry, you find yourself getting excited, what happens? Your breathing, right? It starts to get slower or faster and more shallow instead of the big deep ones. The big deep ones lead to more emotional control and regulation of your nervous system. So anyway, hopefully that was helpful. So think about, again, what is your relationship between comfort and safety, or discomfort and unsafety, or right? So just pay attention to that for you. At what point, what things have made you feel safe? What things have made you feel unsafe? And then where in that dynamic was comfort on a scale. So maybe you did an axis, right? One axis is comfort, discomfort. One axis is safety, unsafety, right, or whatever, right? And so that might be a way to think about it as well. In your mind, what is your relationship between comfort and safety?